Welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, a podcast where we teach speakers how to land paid speaking engagements and corporate contracts. Each week, we deliver high-quality content that teaches you how to level up your speaking business. Be sure to join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group after having your mind blown by this information-filled episode. Now, here's your host, Ashley Kirkwood, lawyer and professional speaker. This is the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
Hey guys, it's Ashley Kirkwood back again with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. And today we have an awesome guest with us, Amber Aziza, and she's just phenomenal. If you've never heard of Amber, I will give you a brief backstory, like really highlight reel version. She's a speaker. She's built several seven-figure businesses, sold her first business before 30. She started off as a corporate trainer, was an executive director before 30 as well. You know, did all of this relatively young. And now she coaches other entrepreneurs on how to scale their own businesses to 6, 7, and probably 8 figures, if not now, then soon. So Amber, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to Speak Your Way to Cash.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about the business that you have now and how speaking plays a role.
Yeah, so AAE Corporation is a conglomerate of 7 family-owned businesses and a nonprofit. And we do everything from a recruitment firm with executive placement for C-level employees, all the way to a collection agency for small businesses. We just have an assortment of things. And really it was, once I built and sold my first 2 companies, I was like, oh, I've got a model now. I can just rinse and repeat. And so basically, if someone came to me with a great idea, a family member, cousin, a friend, it was like, great, we're going to build this into business. And now you're under AAE. So it's been really amazing to build that way. And speaking has really helped in terms of gaining exposure for the businesses, getting clients. But really speaking was the tool that I used to fund my first 2 companies because I quit my 6-figure job. I just walked away and was like, okay, I'm out.
I know. So, I did the same thing.
And so I had to speak just to, pay the bills.
Right.
Verizon didn't care that I had quit my job and I was pursuing my dreams. They were like, great, your bills still due. So speaking really helped fund that. And for me, it's always been a passion to speak on stage. I've been doing it since I was like 16. So it's always been something I've loved to do.
So this is really awesome and interesting. And I love that you said collection agency, because as soon as you said that, I'm like, what small business could not use a reliable collection agency?
Right.
Because I don't know what the national averages are. I used to look this up, but we have about 80% of our clients across the 2 companies. Excellent, exceptional, amazing. Shout out to you guys. But then we got that 20% that you're going to need a collection agency for. And all businesses deal with that. All of them deal with that. It just wasn't something that I thought about on the front end of being a business owner. It's like, who's going to handle collections? Like we've
right.
since bring someone on to do it because it's draining, but keep that in mind, small business owners. You may think you have to be Verizon to get a collection agency on people, but you do not. You can actually do it as a small business owner.
Yes, for sure. And that's, that's really what I feel like all of our businesses, outside of the ones that do consulting for Fortune 500 companies, the other businesses really focus on what are those things that you don't think about on the front end of building your business, the things that you're just like, rainbows and butterflies, and then you get in it and you're like, this is scary. So yeah, collections is definitely one of them because I didn't know that I would have to deal with collections when I started my first company. And it was like, what? I have to, I emailed them politely. Why didn't they,
right.
Why didn't they pay me?
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those things you don't anticipate.
Yes, no, for sure. So total aside, guys, we'll get back on track. But I did just want to point that out. And Amber, I know that you started off as an in-house corporate trainer. So you worked for a corporation and you were a trainer there, and then you ascended through the ranks and had your own training department. Mm-hmm. How then, when you left all of that formal structure, having one client internally or various departments as clients internally, how did you get your first client on your own?
So I leveraged the network that I had. So one of the things that I was really good at in my corporate world job was being able to network. And the benefit of building, your own department is that people tend to recognize the little brown girl who's 30 years younger than everyone else that happens to be at the boardroom table. And so you tend to get noticed and you get recognition. And plus, I built an award-winning training department. And so once you do that, you get a level of recognition that you normally wouldn't necessarily have. And so I leveraged that. And it was really terrifying. I think I spent the first 3 months of being, quote unquote, in business not tapping into my network because I was afraid to, because, you think about like, oh, I should just be able to start my business. I shouldn't have to use my network. People often look at their network as like, I'm using them if I message them. But that's really what building a network is for, is leveraging who you know for various opportunities and vice versa. So a mentor of mine said, you have all of these people that follow you on LinkedIn. You have all of these people on Facebook. You have all of these people, on your email list. And why aren't you just reaching out to them? And I said, I don't want to bug them, and I don't want to ruin the relationship. And they're like, that's literally what networking is. As long as you've worked at keeping them warm, then you shouldn't be stressing out about reaching out and saying, hey, I'm open for business. So I did. I reached out and said, I'm open for business, and was able to get my first 3 clients from that.
That is a really, really, really good point. And what did you reach out and say? Because I know there are people listening who are like, this all sounds so great. I have this awesome network. I have thousands of people who follow me on LinkedIn, thousands of them that I don't know, some of them that I do know, but they're not necessarily in the human resources department, or they're not in the training department. How do I utilize a network that maybe isn't as targeted?
I think that my approach was kind of a 3-prong approach, so to speak. So the first focus was the people who I knew, who I'd had phone conversations with, I'd met before, who had more of what you would call a personal relationship with. Those were the people that I literally just said, hey, you guys know that I left my position and this is what I'm working on. If you know anyone who needs this or may benefit from this, please feel free to send them my way. I'm happy to pay out referrals. And then the second
I'm happy to pay out referrals.
Yes, exactly. Because the thing is that when people ask me, hey, would you mind sharing this with, your network? The answer is usually no, because everyone spends time building their network and really cultivating it and curating it. So why am I going to take my hard-earned network that I've built and just hand it to you? I got to get something out of it. And that's everyone, right? So you got to give to be willing to get. So
and it's so interesting. I don't know if you've experienced this, Amber, but as an attorney, so we have a network of attorneys, and most of the law firms that I refer business to and get business from, they pay referrals, obviously. But I haven't found a lot of other minority-owned law firms that pay referrals similarly. So I think that the referral thing is something that everyone listening should definitely take into consideration, because not all companies do it. But if you do, it only enhances and who cares if I pay you a 20% on a $2,000 or $10,000 contract that I would not have gathered otherwise. It just doesn't matter.
Exactly. I once had a client say to me, but if I pay out a referral, that's less money I earn. I said, but if they don't give you the referral, then that's even less money that you earn.
Yes.
So do the referral.
Yes. And it's great. It's almost like commissions. I mean, I think it's great. Now, some industries you have to be careful, like lawyers can't pay referrals to non-lawyers for legal work. But if your industry allows it, 100% do it.
Absolutely.
So I love that. So you said a 3-prong approach, and then I got all excited and interrupted you. So first,
that's okay.
Out to people that actually know, you've had conversations with, and that relationship is solidified. So that makes sense.
And then the second group of people were people who I may have met at a conference or in passing, or went to an event and they were there. People that I didn't have a personal relationship with, but that maybe I was connected with on LinkedIn or Facebook friends with. And the tone of the message was a lot different. So with people I knew, it was like, hey, you know what happened, and now I'm on my grind, help us out. This group of folks, it was more of, hey, I would love to chat with you. Here's what's going on in my world. I built this business and I would love to talk to you to learn more about how a business like mine could attract a client like you. This is not a sales call. Very key and important to note. This is not a sales call. I'm not going to pitch you. This is an opportunity for me to learn, if you're willing to give me 15 minutes of your time. And so from that group of people that I sent it out to, and I would say that was probably about 200, 300 people that I had sent out this message to, we received, I want to say it was so long ago, but it was around 50 or so responses that said, sure, let's hop on a call. Because I remember the next week being like, how do I have calls with all these people? But it was honestly the best use of my time because people were happy to help out, especially since our focus was corporate and they were in corporate. They didn't feel like, oh, I'm wasting my time to chat with this person. They were like, oh, dope. Like 15 minutes, I don't have to work. Let's talk.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well. And then the third group of people were really my mentors network. So reaching out to my mentors, creating proposals, and saying like, hey, would you mind helping me get the word out? I'm happy to pay out a referral. But I just need a chance. I just need an opportunity. And my mentors were happy to do so because I've always been the yes girl. And that's, I think, something that's missing in a lot of people's businesses, that they jump so quick into business that they haven't had time to really cultivate and nurture relationships. And so they haven't had an opportunity to essentially prove themselves trustworthy enough. And it's not necessarily saying, okay, do stuff for free, but my mentors knew I was always the yes girl. If they had an event and they knew they needed a speaker, they knew they could call Amber. Amber's going to come and show up for you. If they had a gala that they were going to and they had an empty seat at their table, they knew Amber would show up and looking like a 10 and ready to speak whatever talk is going to be at that table. And so, having those people know that, I'm always going to be in your corner and I'm always going to, whatever you tell me to do, you point me in the direction, I'm going to go. That was so much easier to then say, okay, now I need help. Because,
successful people have a lot of mentors like you. That's
for sure.
That is just a standard thing. And I don't even think we think about it because I'm always thinking of the position of how do I serve first? So although I have a lot of mentors, I can trace doing things for all of my mentors at any given point in time, because that's just, I don't know, but I think it's just a principle. Like you want to do that, but it's also a principle that we like to give more than we like to receive.
Absolutely.
So I know people are listening like, ooh, I have always been the one. I've always been in the position like someone needed help, I pay the bill. Someone needed help, I speak. Someone needed a donation, I give the donation. But to be in a position when you're starting a business, you need help. If you're listening to this, you need help, okay? You listen to this podcast because you need help. I need help. Everyone needs help. Like we have people who work with us, they help us, okay? Like everyone needs help. But it is a mental block sometimes to go from I give everything, especially when you have a good job. When you have a good job, you give, you feel great about giving. I'm building a business and now I need help. So talk about, what did you have to do to overcome that?
For me, it was an ego thing. It was all ego. It was 100% ego. I quit my job and moved back home to Ohio in my parents' basement. Like, it was just like, this is the lowest I can get. And I remember having a conversation with my father saying like, this is the bottom of the barrel. This is it. And he drove me. He's like, get in the car. And he drove me to downtown Toledo, which is my hometown, Toledo. And he drove me past various homeless shelters. And he said, that is the lowest you can get. You are nowhere near low yet. And it was really putting everything in perspective, because it made me realize, like, listen, girl, you still got first world problems here. You're like, oh, headhunters are calling me and I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to do my own thing. Why won't anybody give me the chance to do my own thing? And so it really put things in perspective. But, I think also it was literally my mom would drop me off at the grocery store and she would say, I'm not picking you back up and I'm not letting you back in the car until you have 5 names and phone numbers of people that you've introduced yourself to. And it forced me to put myself out there.
When did you do this? Was this once you started your business, or?
This was as soon as I moved home and I said, I'm going to start a business. She was like, oh, that's great. Because my mom was an entrepreneur. She built a franchise of nursery schools and like she knew the game. Unfortunately, you know, when she was building her business, she didn't have the resources that we have today.
Right,
you know, they didn't have online business coaches or any of that. So her businesses ended up not succeeding like they could have. And so for her, it was like, yes, do it. Like follow your dream, chase the wind, do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And she knew that I struggled because I'd always been in a position of, you know, being successful can hurt you. Mm-hmm. As much as it can help you.
Yeah.
You know, starting young, as you said, as an executive, I'd always been headhunted. I was quite literally headhunted out of college. Right. And so every job I'd have after that was someone headhunting me. Yep. So I never had to apply for anything. I never had to say, hey, can I work for you? It was always like, you want me, you know, you want me. Let's just talk salary. Yep. And so
probably always negotiated your salary.
Exactly. And so she knew that it was a struggle for me to have to pitch myself, because I was like, pitch myself? I'm Amber Aziza. Like,
I'm above this.
Right. What do you mean? Tell you why you should hire me. I'm amazing. And so she said, you know, you need to practice pitching yourself. You need to practice knowing how to tell people what you do and asking for their business. And so she would drop me off. And this was before the days of Uber. And even then I didn't have the money for Uber anyways, because I was so broke. And she said, you know, message me, text me when you have 5 names and numbers. And I would sit in the bathroom of the grocery store crying for the first like 20 minutes. And I would message her and say like, okay, I'm ready. And she'd be like, do you have the numbers? And I was like, no. She's like, okay, I'm not coming back till you have numbers. So it was terrible because it was the fear of being told no. It was that fear of rejection. And I remember going to the first person and, you know, just saying, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And they were like, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. And like walked right past me. And I went back to the bathroom and cried for another 20 minutes. It was like boot camp for pitching yourself. And after I cried, I remember calling my brother and saying like, I can't do this. I'm just going to call the headhunter and like go back to work. Like, I'm not doing this. And my brother said something so important to me that I don't even think to this day he realized it was as important to me as it was. He said, oh, so you're going to quit. I didn't take you for a quitter, but I mean, you know, do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And it was just that like exact phrase that was needed to rise that fire out of me, because I was like, quit? I'm not a quitter. I don't quit things. Like, that's not me. I don't want to be known as a quitter. So I just said, okay, I'm going out. And I just powered through. And it took me about 2.5 hours to get 5 people to agree to hop on a discovery call with me. And it was painful because it was struggle to find the right people, because you can't just identify them by how they're dressed. Right. It was a struggle to really articulate what I did, because I was still kind of figuring that out. Yeah. And then it was a struggle to be told no and to still keep a smile on my face to, you know, go to the next person. And then also to not, you know, have them call security on me. Right. I was just walking aimlessly around the grocery store saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you. But I finally did get the 5 names and numbers. And out of those 5 names and numbers, 1 actually ended up being a client. And so it really helped me in feeling comfortable telling people. Now I'll tell anybody. I'll be on the train here in London like, hey, you look like you work at a company. Tell me what you do. We'll just start the conversation.
So they became a client. Was this for your millennial training program?
Yes. So this was so we had kind of a 2-part focus of the company, because again, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay on the corporate side or move to the B2C side. So I did both. And so we had and I say we because it was me and my mom was my assistant at the time.
Nice.
So we had the B2C side, which was helping millennials coaching them for their career, helping them with their resume writing and helping them with their job interview prep. And then on the other side, we had millennial consultation for Fortune 500 companies was the focus. So this particular client from the grocery store was a mother of a millennial who was like, please, I want him out of my house. Please help him get a job. So it really worked out well because that helped me really fine tune and determine, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can build this out and make it pretty successful. And talking to her and the other 4 people really helped me determine what keywords people were using when they were describing their pain points, which helped me in my marketing.
So you were tracking all of that. This is really
yes.
good. This is really good. And, guys, you all hear this. You all know you've heard a little bit about Amber's bio. You should really look her up to get a full picture, honestly, because we don't have time to go through all of her accomplishments. But what I want you all to do is to not divorce yourself from her success. Because I know that some people listen to these podcasts and you all hear the phenomenal people that I interview and you think to yourself like, oh, well, but her mom was a successful entrepreneur, so I can't relate to that. My dad was personally a successful entrepreneur, so that helps a lot, having a parent who can guide you through it. It's almost like free business coaching, which I'm sure he would love for me to just say that so he can be like, yeah, write my check. But it really is, but don't divorce yourself from the success. So now that you've heard this, figure out how you can apply these principles to your life. Maybe you need to go to the grocery store. Okay. Mm-hmm. And apply this to your speaking business. So Amber, moving more into focusing on how you were able to land corporate clients, because I know for a lot of people, that would be a huge game changer to their business, which right now is just one-off engagements and maybe small church events or small nonprofit events. What have you found to be the most successful way to source corporate clients, so to find them and then pitch to them? Are you doing RFPs or are you kind of going through the human resources department and pitching to employee resources groups? What has been your strategy with getting in the door in corporate? Because there's so many ways.
Right. So ERGs, employee resource groups, are not as effective as I think people think they are. And I say this as someone who used to run an HR department and an OD department, organizational development department. They're not as effective for outside vendors because they need a champion to actually process the proposal.
And their budgets are lower.
Exactly. So it means you're going through a lot more red tape than you normally would. But I would say that in terms of for our corporate clients, I think our biggest weapon, so to speak, is doing more networking. And I know no one wants to hear that, like networking. Right. Oh, I thought she was going to give me something really cool. Networking is going to be huge. Going to events. I go on Eventbrite all the time and I look up events and I'll send, I used to go out myself. Now I don't anymore because we have a team for that. But we'll deploy them to different networking events and just introduce themselves. Also joining a professional association. So if your gatekeeper is in HR, you should be a member of the Society of Human Resource Management and you should be going to those meetings regularly. If your gatekeeper is in marketing, then you should be a member of the AMA. So joining essentially the same professional organizations that they would be in is key. And then also I spend a lot of our team's time looking at job boards. So if there's a position that is what you talk about or what you focus on in your business that's open and it's been open for a while, that means they're probably hurting in that area, especially if it's an executive position. So we'll pitch them and say, hey, we would love to come in and present a workshop that will help ease the pain of not having this position filled and help you kind of bide your time until this position is filled fully. And it surprisingly works a lot. It works really, really well because a lot of times companies are just like, oh, okay, we will take any level of relief, especially if it's a C-level position or a VP position. If it's been open 90 days or more, they're feeling the heat because typically they didn't just post it immediately as soon as the person left. They typically waited a bit to determine if they could move someone up or if they could make some changes in the succession plan.
That makes a lot of sense. And we had a Kamanzi Constable on, and that's one of the strategies he recommends is looking at job boards as well. But I do wonder, so if you are someone who trains on generational communication styles, for instance. What job board posting would you be looking for?
So you would be looking for the HR department, I know, because that's one of my speaking topics. So you would be speaking to the human resources department. 9 times out of 10, you're either going to marketing, the operations department, or you're going to HR. Those are kind of key decision makers in every company. And when in doubt, I always tell people go with HR, because they are like the mama. Even if they're ran by a man, they're the mama of the entire department, their entire company. So they know who's doing what, and who needs what, because they're getting all of those requests and complaints coming their way. So they're going to be totally abreast of what's going on in every department.
So would it be a vacant VP of HR position, or would it be, because, when you're looking at the job boards, they just post these random positions. So if you do social media or marketing, that's a little bit simpler, I would think, because you would just look for social media positions, digital marketing positions. But if you do more training on general employee relations, what is the job title that you're looking for on the job boards?
So if you're looking for general employee relations, you're looking for like a director of HR, even an HR manager. Anytime you have anything related to employee relations, you're going a touch further down the totem pole as opposed to up the totem pole. And the reason is because executives don't handle engagement. They just don't. The bigger the company, the less likely they are to even know what the engagement strategy is. That's going to be more line level management. And if the position or multiple positions have been empty for a while, they're really feeling the heat higher up, because they're like, I don't know why our employees are leaving. Why are they not happy? And it's like, because you don't have someone there that's helping them be happy. But then there's also employee relation manager positions that you can search for, because that's actually a position that is frequently added, especially to startups.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's good to know. I mean, I think those are awesome tips, because Kimanzi talks a lot about that, about using the job boards. And I think he says that's what he does even to this day. Even though he's built this 7-figure digital marketing agency, that's a strategy they use every single week to this day. So out of the mouths of 2 or 3 guys, pay attention to that strategy. Okay, so job boards is one way. I personally love what you said about that 3-tiered approach you have to reaching out to your network. Every single person listening can do that today. Is there anything else that you'd recommend? You said you go on Eventbrite. Is that to attend events or to find events to speak at?
Typically, it's to attend events for our networking. What we used to do, and I recommend this for new speakers completely. More seasoned speakers, we tend to be more tight on our time, but newer speakers, you have more flexibility with this. So what I tell my new speakers to do that are our clients is I say, listen, go on Eventbrite. If you get an opportunity to go to an event, or you're booked to speak at an event and it's in a different city, or even if it's in the same city, look on Eventbrite to see what other events are happening during that same time. Shoot them a note, the organizers a note, and say, hi, I'm a speaker. These are all my things, the accolades and whatnot. This is what I talk about. And I see that you're having an event. I see that your speaker call has been completely closed, which I understand because you're within a couple of weeks of your event. Should you have a speaker back out, please feel free to consider me and reach out. I'll already be in town speaking at XYZ event and would love to contribute to your event as well. There's a couple of reasons why this works so well. The first is because, well, if you think about it, speakers back out all the time. All the time. Anyone who's ever planned an event or spoken at an event knows you're going to have at least one speaker back out for whatever reason. So it's always nice for them to have a list of speakers on backup. The second reason it works really well is because they don't have to pay for your flight. They don't have to pay for your hotel, because that's already covered, assuming by your other speaking engagement. So they're literally just having to pay your speaker fee. And oftentimes, if it's last minute, we'll even say, we'll do it at our reduced fee because we're already going to be in town. So we're speaking Saturday morning at this event and speaking Saturday evening at that event. And so it really becomes the best of both worlds for them, because they get to have an amazing speaker, but they don't have to have all of the fees that come with having that amazing speaker, like the transport and the hotel, because it's already taken care of.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And guys, note she says, I'll do it at a reduced fee. Put that in there. You do not want to just send this out and people think you're going to come and speak for free and do all this stuff when you're not. You're not going to go and speak for free. So please put something in there to signal that you are a professional speaker. You have a fee. You do this for real. You're not like on your mom's couch hoping that you can go speak just for exposure. It's important that you say it, because if you don't, they will invite you to come on that panel and just sit there, look cute, and say some words.
Exactly. And, you know, that's such a good point. I think that we run into this all the time. So for our speaker program, we have so many students who will come in and they'll say, well, I reached out to them and they asked if I could do it pro bono. Well, did you say what your fee was?
Exactly.
Well, no. Did you say you had a fee? Well, no. Then of course they're going to ask you to do it pro bono. Yep. If you don't give me a fee, I'm going to assume that you're coming in for free. And that's just how the speaker world works. And it's such a lesson learned. Once you get enough people asking you, okay, well, will you do it for free? And sometimes they don't even say, will you do it for free? They just assume that you're going to do it for free.
And guys, that goes for corporations too. It's not just conferences. I have had Fortune 50 corporations reach out to me, typically through their employee resource group, and ask, could I come and keynote some engagement? And guess what I said? No. Because the reality is, you're at some point in your career, when you are making money in business, your time is too valuable. And quite frankly, time is more valuable than money. So you're not going to do it. And I think it's in the beginning, it's fine because you need to get video reel. You need to get things going. You need to have momentum, but you should also be thinking like, is this worth it to me for real in the long haul? Especially if you have nothing else to sell. I mean, there's no point.
Girl. Right? My goodness.
Now, if you got books, the company will buy 50, 100, 2,500 books, then okay, fine. It's not a big deal. But you need to really think through why you're doing this, even if you love it, why you're doing it, and the benefit, time, value, money, benefit.
For sure. I just did, literally today, I just did an Instagram post where I talked about how my friends laugh at me. I just moved to London and we were having a group call and they said, what's the first thing you did? And before I could even say the first thing I did, they were like, you hired a maid, didn't you? And I was just like, yeah, of course I did. They know that's the first thing I do every time I go anywhere. And I said, my time is valuable. The time that it would take me to clean and to do all that, I could be doing other stuff. And sure enough, today when she came and cleaned, I quite literally closed deals, had a meeting with my CFO, was able to review a couple of proposals. And why would I spend that time doing something else? And so you really have to hit a point where you say, you know what, my time is too valuable for me to be doing something for free that I could be doing other things and making me more money.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting because every speaker we've had on here talks about the value of speaking for free. And there is value to it if it is it's free and unpaid, two different things. There has to be value in it, right? I never go speak for nothing. If I want to deepen a relationship with a company, if I think there's additional legal business I can get, if I think my ideal audience is in the room and I can sell from the stage, but I'm never leaving there with nothing. Like, oh, that was such a waste of my time. They just totally got me, Right. But I think you were one of the first coaches I heard say, don't speak for free.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us your perspective on that.
So I think, my biggest reason that I tell my speakers not to speak for free, and the reason that it works so well for them, is because, as you said, free and unpaid are two different things. And so if you're going somewhere and you have no contract, you have nothing written down that says what you get out of it, this is a lose-lose deal for you. Yeah, you get exposure, but people often go to these events thinking they're going to speak for free and they're going to have that, like La La Land, someone in the crowd is going to see them and be like, I need to pay you $10,000. It doesn't work like that. The reality is that depending on the size of the event, the first thing the person who is an organizer sitting in an audience at another organizer's event is going to do is go to that organizer and say, what was their speaker fee? And if they say, oh no, girl, I got it for free, guess what they're going to come at you with? Free. They're not going to come at you with your speaker fee. They're not even going to think you're worth it because you didn't charge your worth to begin with. And I think so many people get so hung up on exposure. I mean, even you said, your speaker reel. There are ways to get the things that you need, the speaker reel, the photos, all of that without speaking for free. You can do back of room sales, fell from the stage.
Yep.
You can create opportunities. So even if you go to a professional association and they say, hey, can you speak at our chapter meeting for free? Yes, I can come to this chapter meeting and speak for free. But what we're also going to do is do a workshop that weekend. And we're going to charge $50 a ticket. And we're going to partner in that. You're going to promote it to the people who are sitting in that room. So that's different than not getting paid at all and just trying to figure life out. I think my big aha moment of, girl, you got to stop doing this was I went to speak at an HR conference, very popular HR conference. I was one of the main stage speakers. I spent $1,500 for my flight and hotel and my rental car. And I killed it, right? Standing ovation. People coming up to me like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Like, you're so bright. This is so, like, these methods are amazing. And the organizer comes up to me afterwards. I step off stage. She hands me a basket of half moldy fruit and a card. And so I opened the card thinking, oh, it's an honorarium, which is real big, especially in like the faith-based world. Oh, they're going to pay me an honorarium. Yeah, you need to specify what that honorarium is. So I opened it up and it's 2 tickets for lunch. And I was just like, this is what I got out of this, was moldy fruit and 2 tickets for lunch. And it was just an aha moment of, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this completely and utterly wrong. Because another speaker that was on the same stage, I went to speakers dinner with the night before, and he was like, just out of curiosity, how much did you charge for yours? And I said, well, I just wanted the exposure and whatnot. And he said, oh, I charge $15,000. And I remember at that time thinking, $15,000 to come and give a 45-minute speech? Are you crazy? Like, who would pay that and who would charge that? And when I stepped off that stage and got that basket of moldy fruit, I realized I should have charged that and they would have paid it. And so for me, it was a light bulb moment that I said, I'm never doing this again. And so I encourage people, you need to look at all angles. There are other opportunities out there. And yes, there are organizers who will say, well, if you don't do it for free, then someone else will. Yeah, hookers do that too. If someone won't do it for the amount that they say, they can find someone else who will. But you're not a hooker, you're a speaker. So it's 2 very different things. And so that's really why I've built my philosophy and built my trainings and my coaching and everything around, don't do it for free because you're more valuable than that.
Yeah, you absolutely, that is so, that's on the head. The fact that you had a flight. And the other thing is, let me tell you guys something. You're going to feel so good getting that check for like $2,500 if it's your first check. But then you're going to be on that flight. It's going to get delayed. You're going to be in that hotel room. Oh, and let me tell you, if you speak at colleges, they will put you in the best hotel in that town, which could be a 2-star hotel. And I know this is going to sound extremely bougie, but I am a Westin or better girl. Okay. That's me all day.
I'm right with you.
The peninsula. Okay. So like for me to go in these little towns and stay in these hotels, that is when I raised my rate. I was like, absolutely not. I cannot for this. Like my husband knows me. So he's like, oh, what's the hotel? Extended stay. Oh, I know my wife's freaking out. I'm like, Chris, they have a laundromat in the hotel. Where am I?
Yes.
So it is not, you're excited when you're at home in your comfortable house, you're doing it, but then the travel, the delays, like all of that, you have to be compensated for that.
Yes.
Like, one of my flights got canceled. I had an engagement in Virginia. I had to drive from Chicago to Virginia. Like it's a 10-hour drive. But the thing is, I also cannot miss engagement. So my goal in life is to be that speaker who's never missed an engagement. So, we drove, it was a long weekend. We didn't mind, we took our time, but guess what? I was well compensated. So it was not a big deal. So it is not just the speech. You're not really getting, $5,000 for an hour of your time. In essence, you kind of are, but really what you have the travel, the preparation, the practice. I always hire videographers and photographers. So 10% always typically goes to that. So all of that, your admin costs. My administrator makes me a 1 sheet before each engagement. That takes her time. She has links to everything. Like it is not just the speech. It's not. So don't feel bad about getting 15 grand, 20 grand, whatever you need to get.
And you also have to consider that, especially if you're traveling, that's a day that you can't take clients. That's a day that you can't make money in other ways. So it's not, like you said, it's not just that time you're on the stage. It's the time to prep. It's the time to get there. It's the time to get back home. It's a time away from your kids because you have to hire a nanny or a babysitter. Yeah. It's just, it's your time is valuable and it's worth more than just saying, I hope someone in the crowd sees me.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. So you've pitched for $2,500. You've helped people probably pitch for $2,500 engagements all the way up to $25,000 engagements. What is the difference in pitching for one over the other? How do you get to those premium fees outside of being a celebrity, of course?
Experience is going to be a huge factor. So starting out, you want to start lower. It's not saying you have to. You can start higher if you really, really feel like you can command it. But it's all about the amount of experience you have and the kind of names that you've got under your belt. I mean, once I had the White House under my belt, Obama administration, not the current one, but once I had that White House deal under my belt, it was like, okay, now I can charge pretty much whatever I want. So, for me, it's really about where else have you spoken? And then I think also the impact. So if you can prove that what you're presenting is going to have a major impact, then that's going to be a huge game changer. And then also how you're presenting it. So a keynote versus a half-day workshop versus a full-day workshop or a 2-day workshop, the longer the time is, the more money you're going to have to charge for it. But if you can tell a corporation, hey, I'm going to come and I'm going to speak about millennial engagement and I'm going to host this workshop. And as a result, you guys are going to be able to retain your millennials. My former places I've spoken at have been able to instill processes and procedures and policies that have allowed them to retain their millennials by 25% more than what they were before. Those are solid numbers. I always tell, my clients and my students, don't come to anybody without the stats to back up what it is you're talking about. I'm hugely data driven. People will say, well, what's the secret to your success? Data. I'm all about data. I don't go on emotions. I don't go on feelings. I go on data. And so just like with speaking, you can't come to them and say, hey, I want to speak for your audience. Pay me $25,000. Okay, what do I get for that $25,000? And you better give me more than just you get a 2-day workshop, right? They want to know what's going to be the end results, what's going to be the output, what's going to change as a result of them spending that $25,000, what's going to be the return on that investment. If you can't give them those numbers, stay at your lower rate until you can.
Yep. And work hard to get those numbers. So that means you need to have real conversations with your clients prior to, so that what would make this engagement, this workshop, this keynote a huge success for them, and how are they going to track it? Because without that, you'll never get those numbers. If they're not going to have a way to track it, I mean, there's no point. And if you don't follow up to make sure they implement, then there's no point either. So that's how you get those numbers, guys. So make sure it's not just the one time, get on stage, look cute. It's you want to be making real impact in these organizations. So those are all phenomenal points. Now, how do you use LinkedIn as a speaker?
So we use LinkedIn in several ways. I have a VA that her whole responsibility is just managing LinkedIn. And she will go through the newsfeed every day, a couple times a day, to see if someone's posting about either a concern or an issue that they're having in their workspace, or if they are talking about a new initiative that they're hosting. People talk on LinkedIn, probably more than they should, but they talk on LinkedIn, and it's all focused on, their business, their workspace. And so she'll message them and say, hey, I see that you talked about this new initiative, this new diversity initiative that you have in place. We have this amazing program that we talk about diversity and inclusion and getting rid of your bias in order to lead. And I'd love to set up time to chat with you about that. And then she hops on a call with them and pitches me to come and host a workshop. And it's really all done seamlessly behind the scenes now. I don't even really touch it at all. Literally the first time they see me or speak to me is usually when I'm showing up there to speak. So we use LinkedIn in that manner. We also use LinkedIn groups, because the groups are a really great place to source for opportunities, speaking engagements, whether it's finding partnerships. So companies, and this is another thing, is, finding companies that are doing trainings for specific topics they can be your great gatekeeper and your great introduction to a company if you have a complementary topic that they don't cover. So, for example, if someone is saying, yeah, I talk about millennial engagement. Well, yeah, I talk about millennial engagement too, but I also do diversity and inclusion, a certified diversity trainer. So I'll say, well, do you talk about diversity? No, we don't. Oh, okay. Well, if you happen to get a client that you talk about millennial engagement with, diversity is always a great pair with that. So please consider me. And they will. So use LinkedIn to network, to reach out to people, to see what's going on, and to determine what's happening and initiatives are going on in different companies.
Yeah, I love that. I really do love that. So what's next for you, Amber?
So we have so much coming up, but really the biggest thing is continuing to transition more into CEO role. I think a lot of entrepreneurs go into business not really with an exit strategy. I went into business already knowing what my exit strategy was going to be, that it would be retirement at 40 and moving the chairwoman of the board. So we officially have our board. Now I need to start succession planning for who's going to come in and replace me when I retire. So got 6 years to do it. So got some time, but really working on cultivating my team, bringing up more speakers under me within our team, because it's no good if it's just me that's the face of AE. I want my team members to be comfortable as being brand representatives and ambassadors. So really working on that, and then just helping other women build their businesses into titans like we have.
Awesome. And is the Make Your Worth Mastermind closed or is it open? How can people, and if you all don't know about that, if you're on my email list, I spoke for the Make Your Worth Summit. So it's definitely something you should check out, try to buy the replay. But I know you had a mastermind as well. So if that's open, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so our mastermind is amazing. It is a 1-year annual incubator. And essentially what we do in the Make Your Worth Mastermind is we help women build and grow their companies, increase their visibility, grow their sales, effectively design their business for success. So it's for people who are from the spark of an idea of, I think I could make this into a business, all the way to their first 6-figure year. Beyond that, we say, okay, you probably need more personalized coaching. But for our actual mastermind, you get accountability strategists that are assigned to you. So they will hold you accountable and say, hey, we haven't heard from you. What are you doing? What are you working on? We have a support community. We do office hours. We have study halls, virtual study halls that we all get together and work and ask questions and get the answers that they need. And it's just a really cool opportunity. It's something that I wish I had had when I built my first company, being able to ask experts questions and get actual answers that were helpful instead of hoping that they were right, knowing that they were right. So if you are interested in learning more, you can check it out, makeyourworth.com.
Awesome. And where can we find you if we want to stay connected with you?
Yes, so you can find me. My website is amberaziza.com or aaecorporation.com. And you can find me on social media everywhere at Amber_Aziza.
Perfect. Well, Amber, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Speak Your Way to Cash family, another awesome episode. Implement. And this is coming out in October. So if you're in Chicago, we will be having the Speak Your Way to Cash Live Summit. It's the last one of the year. So if you have not attended one of the other 3, this is your last chance for 2019. And I will be there live in the flesh talking about building your speaking empire from scratch. Or if you already have one, how you can grow it. So guys, this was great. Feel free to send us your recommendations for who we should be interviewing and speaking to. And as always, I can't wait to hear your successful stories about how you started to speak your way to cash.